Today is all about switching up your potato salad game, and we're doing a roasted sweet potato salad, perfect with slight fall flavors, but also full summer impact. It can be served cold, warm. It's a quick, delicious vinaigrette. It's gonna come together in a cinch, and you're gonna see why I love this salad, and you will too. Let's make it. If you follow me, you may know I don't love to follow rules, so we're switching up potato salad and making a roasted sweet potato salad. One, sweet potatoes are great as you're going into fall. We're harvesting sweet potatoes, we're starting to use them. Two, it's just nice to change things up and have bright flavors with different ingredients, and that's what this is all about. So it is great as we're going into holiday times. Even if you want something different, you can serve it warm or cold. This is gonna be a cold application because it still feels warm out. So what we're going to do here is start with the sweet potatoes, and I'm cubing them up. So I'm just taking traditional sweet potatoes, and I am chopping off any bad parts or ends, and then I'm cubing them. What you're also gonna notice is I scrub my sweet potatoes, and then I will make sure that I do not peel them. If you want to peel them, you can. Here's my thing. I like the peel. And when it roasts, just like with almost all my winter squash, including butternut, delicata, things like that, I don't peel, and I eat the peel. Once it roasts, it becomes soft and tender. That's wonderful. So what I'm doing is not making a perfect cube because they're round, and I'm not gonna take the time to first chop off and waste any. I'm just making nice little rough cubes, as you can see. And what this is gonna do is allow, one, for them to cook easier, but also, and roast more evenly. It's also gonna make sure they get more browning on all sides. So what I'm doing is I'm putting them on 2 baking sheets. So instead of, like when you make potato salad, you would cook potatoes maybe in water, whatever method, maybe steam them, we're roasting them. So we're adding a little bit of a layer of flavor by roasting these potatoes. And that is, to me, super important. And what you need to know about roasting, you don't want to pile them all in one pile. That will cause them more to steam and not roast. So the important thing is to use oil. So we're gonna make sure to use some olive oil on them. And I'm gonna drizzle it on, and then I'm gonna use my hands to actually work it in, because that's gonna make sure that it gets evenly coated. And as I'm doing that, I'm making sure I'm tossing them in that oil and then spreading them out. So that's gonna make sure they roast more evenly, the air can move around them. So do that to both pans. Look how beautiful this is. And if you want, you can do different types of sweet potatoes and yams. So what we can do is spread them out. We're gonna do a nice dose of salt. We're gonna sprinkle it on. And I use kosher salt, but use whatever salt, and just know you have to adjust depending on the type of salt you use, because each salt measures differently. We're gonna sprinkle that on, a little bit of black pepper here, and then we're gonna put these right into a high heat oven so they roast and become caramelized. While the potatoes are roasting, which takes a few minutes, I like to get a beautiful pecan addition to this ready. So what I have is some melted butter, and we're gonna build everything on top of that. We're gonna take pecans. You can see they're just halved pecans, which have almost a sweetness to them, I think, when it comes to nuts. We're gonna put them right in with that beautiful melted butter, and we're gonna add some maple syrup. So we're bringing in those maple flavors. We're gonna add, which maple really will begin to glaze them, but if you really want a good glaze, like a glazed nut would, we're gonna add a little bit of brown sugar, because that has a different type of glazing quality. And then once we do that, we're gonna add some chipotle powder. Now, chipotle powder is a smoky, spicy spice. You can put it in the spice section, put it, on different things. Now, if you don't want the spice part of it, use smoked paprika. That will give you that smoky addition without the spice. I like the spice. This to me is like a nice hint of warmth, spice with a little bit of smokiness. And then with that, we're gonna do some thyme. So I just like to use a little bit of fresh thyme. Just strip it off of those stems and just put it right in there. Now, if some of the stems are left in there, we can just pull them out once it is done glazing too. So I don't worry too much about it, but just start, all that thyme right in there, which is a really nice kind of hint of some fresh flavor with this. Now we're gonna finish with some salt, because you need to balance it out and have some of that salt in there. And then we're gonna put it on the stove and let it just come together. We just need to actually start warming this over medium heat and watch it. Each stove is gonna be different. And what we're gonna do is start letting everything melt together, and just until it glazes the pecans and slightly toasts them. Within a few minutes, it starts wanting to almost bubble, and you can tell it's starting to coat, so you wanna stir them continuously just so they don't burn, or you don't burn any of that beautiful sugar. And then we can just take them off, and you can see they're glazed beautifully. So I just have some parchment sitting here so I can lay them out, because they will harden as they cool. So I lay them right on that, and then spread them out slightly if you want, but you can break them up later too. And we're just gonna spread them out so they cool off. And then while these are cooling, we're gonna get the potatoes out. We're gonna get the dressing ready yet and put it all together, and it's done. The potatoes have roasted and I just put them on both the same pan. We can start putting them into our serving bowl just so they can be ready and cool off slightly. Like I said, you can do this warm too. So if you want to keep them hot and then put everything together while they're warm, it's a beautiful salad that way too. We will have other things to add to that, but before we do, I want to get the dressing ready. So what we have is a small bowl here, and we want to just start putting everything together. So I have minced 1 clove of garlic, which obviously each clove can be a different flavor. Usually that means about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. 2 that I want to add, some apple cider vinegar. So we're using those fall notes. Apple cider vinegar has more flavor than just white vinegar. We're gonna put this right in here, which actually, as it sits with that garlic, will tend to just temper out the flavor and make it not quite as strong. We're gonna add a little bit of orange to this because I like the brighter acidic pop that orange has, as opposed to just apple cider vinegar. And orange works really well with these flavors, especially with the sweet potato. We're of course gonna add some Dijon mustard, and I'm making it extra Dijon-y, shall we say, because I want that flavor and that funk in there that just really lends well. And then to this, we're gonna add some maple syrup. We're gonna balance out that beautiful acidity with some sweetness. We're gonna put it right in there. We're gonna, of course, do some pepper, some black pepper, and just going to do a couple swipes. And I wanna do just a little bit more thyme. Since we use that with the pecans, I wanna do just a little bit of fresh thyme in there. I think that can really add a nice note. So just a few of those leaves I'm stripping off, putting them right down in there. And any vinaigrette or dressing needs some oil. So we're gonna put some olive oil right in here. And this is what, as we whisk it, is going to emulsify with that mustard and create more of a creamy style almost dressing, which is super important. You can change up the acidity level if you want, which is the ratio of that oil to the vinegar and that juice we're putting in there. Once your oil's in, we're gonna make sure we season it with some salt because that's what's really gonna balance it out, and then we're ready to go. What we're gonna do is just whisk this. And you can see as it comes together, you're starting to almost emulsify it and it starts changing, and that's what you want. You want this to change into an actual vinaigrette, which is what it's slowly doing as we whisk it. So when I stop, you're gonna see that that oil, look at that, is now mixed in with that mustard. That's a beautiful thing. Now as it sits, sometimes it can separate. But what I always say you should do at this point is, I wanna grab a spoon. I think you should always taste a little bit of it. Obviously it's a strong vinaigrette, so you don't just wanna take a big spoon of it, but a little bit. It's seasoned well. That's what's important. Taste your food. Taste the steps that you can because you wanna make sure that they have flavor. And now we can put everything together. So we're starting with our sweet potatoes, and we just have all these components we're adding. Black beans, add a nice creaminess, add protein. You can change them up with the bean, but then I wanna add some craisins. I'm gonna add those right beside, and you can get different ones. I actually get ones that are sweetened with apple juice. I don't know why, I just like them better, they're a little bit more plump. And then I'm gonna add some red onion that I've chopped up. So I like to have it diced so it works in. I like red onion because I think it's a little bit sweeter. So we're gonna add that in too, which really looks beautiful. A little bit of celery. I am someone that the one thing I don't always love is celery. So when I use it, I think it's needed. And I do think it adds a nice crunch. It adds that flavor that has a little bit more of a classic potato salad edge here. We're gonna add a little bit of parsley that I've minced up, and you can always put more of that on top. Like, you can add that more as a garnish, but I think some fresh green flavor is nice. I do have a nice cube of feta. And again, I'm gonna keep some to put right on top if I want to, but then we can cube and just kind of crumble in this feta. I think when you get it in a nice big clump and cube like this, it's nicer because you can do irregular kind of a crumble to it, which personally I think looks better. And then we have our nuts, which if you look over here, you can tell they have hardened and they have almost like a glaze-like quality. So I'm gonna grab some, keeping some again for on top if I want to. And I like to keep them kind of in big pieces because I think that looks nicer and you can really see what's in there. So now I'm gonna put on a little bit of the dressing. Again, reserve some so I can dress it a little bit later. And then we'll mix it all together and just kind of toss it. And that's the best part, is how quickly this then comes together. And I just like to toss it together. So obviously this can be made well in advance, even a day in advance, but leave the nuts out if you're gonna make it in advance because those can get soggy. But what I wanna do now is just toss this, where it just, look how, I think what's fun is it has such beautiful colors. And it really has that nice kind of, it has the crunch, it has the textures of creamy with those beans that we had to do nothing to other than have them rinsed and drained, just because we want them to have that clean flavor so they can really soak in this vinaigrette. Look how beautiful this is. I mean, this is such a beautiful, to me, potato salad. Again, I think just to finish it, it needs a little bit of that cheese on top so you get a little bit of that brighter color from it, which is just so nice. And that's it. This is sweet potato salad, a roasted sweet potato salad, which I'm just gonna dig in because this is literally something that I would just eat by itself for dinner. And there is more dressing. Sometimes as it sits, the potatoes can soak in a little bit, just like a pasta would, but not near as much. So if you want to, for a brighter kind of finish, you can add the rest of it a little later, but this is delicious. It has layers of flavor. You get things from the pecans, which are that nice, nutty, crunchy texture, to the creamy beans, to those perfectly tender potatoes that are roasted, so they have that brown caramelization from the oil and they're well seasoned. And with that pop of dressing that has that sweet, bright flavor, it's a delicious potato salad. And what I like about it is it hits the notes almost as a side dish or a salad if you want it to, because it has all those great flavors to it. So I hope you are maybe excited and thrilled to try a new version of a potato salad by roasting sweet potatoes first. Perfect as we go into a new season of the year to get some of those things that come out of the garden, like root vegetables, sweet potatoes. So share this video around so other people can see that, hey, there are new recipes to try, new foods to try, and they are easy to make at home. If I can do it, you can do it. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this full recipe. It's on my website, printable, and in the description below this video. Until next time, make something good, bring people together, have an occasion even on a weeknight, just because you can. Enjoy.